Very happy to be joined now by Browns general manager Andrew Berry. And Andrew, I'm sure it's been a whirlwind of the 3 days for you, but when you sit back here, you went in with 7 picks. You ended up taking 7 players, basically turned a 7th into a 5th, and also picked up a 3rd next year, not in addition to bringing 7 fine men into the Cleveland Browns organization. As you sit here now afterwards, what do you think of what transpired over the last 3 days?
Yeah, we're very pleased and we're very excited. We think we were able to add a number of young, talented players that fit our offense and defensive systems, that embody the cultural elements that we want to make sure that we establish here in Cleveland: tough, smart, accountable, and certainly adding draft capital going into next year. That's definitely an added bonus. So we're excited about what we've accomplished so far. Obviously we're excited to get these guys in the building when things open back up and have our coaching staff work with them. And then we'll be excited to see how it plays out in the fall.
Let's just start at the top. Obviously, Jedrick Wills, Grant Delpit, I think the headliners, the first 2 rounds there. In your scenarios you went through, did you think you'd be able to get your top tackle? And then I know you coveted Delpit, and for him to be their guy who in 2018 put out maybe some of the best defensive tape in all of college football at a big-time program at LSU in the SEC. When you came out of that with those 2 guys, what were you thinking at that point?
No, very excited. 2 young, talented guys with proven track records at core positions on our roster. I mentioned we were surprised that Jedrick was available to us at 10, so we were elated when we were able to make the choice. Grant, we had an idea would be around 41. We thought we had a shot there, and we're really pleased when we felt comfortable moving back to 44. But both those guys I think can have bright futures and really fit what we're looking for at their respective positions.
So take us through that mindset, right? You have a guy, you're like, look, we want to get Grant. We're at 41. We can take him, but we can also move back, get a 5th round pick. Is that kind of nervous as 41, 42, 43 go? Because ultimately, obviously, it worked out the way you wanted, and you're able to get Nick Harris basically for free as a result of that move.
Yeah, no, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking because there is a risk in terms of losing the player, but there are a couple things that really contribute to that decision. Number one, the work of our pro scouting staff, understanding the needs that different teams have across the league to give us a little bit more confidence. 2, the work that our research and strategy group does there. They actually, for every pick in the draft and for every player on our board, actually come up with like updated pick odds that they would go off the board at a certain point with aggregated information from the hundreds of mocks that are publicly available. And then the other piece of that is understanding that if you do move back and lose the player, what your alternative is. So taking all the 3 of those things in conjunction with one another made us comfortable with the move. And ultimately, we were excited to get our first choice of the pick.
So basically, as you look at 7, we know it's not an even number, but almost a 50-50 split on offense and defense. You go 4 picks ultimately on the offensive side, 3 on the defensive side. And as you step back now, because free agency was piece 1, the draft piece number 2, and you look at all these additions you brought on the roster, about 20 guys, I think it is. How are you feeling about this roster as the whole now coming out of this process?
We're pleased where we are at this point in time, but also understanding that we have 4 or 5 months until we're actually playing games. So there's still plenty of work to do and plenty of opportunities that will come available over the next few months. I know the first day of free agency and the draft, they're the big ticket, highly public periods in the off season, but we still have what we would call post-draft free agency. We still have, cuts and trades over the next several months. And then we, have the major cut down in August. So, and that really leads up into, the trade deadline into the season. So there's still going to be a number of opportunities for us to add talent to the roster and continue to improve it. So even though we may pause and catch our breaths a little bit tomorrow, we still have plenty of opportunities out in front of us.
So day 2 was all about the defense. Day 3, all about the offense. Is there anybody kind of in that mix? And we talked about Delpit and Wills already, but that really stood out to you that you guys couldn't believe was there for you, or that you're really, really excited? I know you're really excited about all these guys. That's why you make the decision to make them the Cleveland Browns. But as you kind of went through the process, was there somebody that you're like, wow, this is great that we're going to be able to get this guy at this spot?
You're right. We were excited about all the guys that we selected. Probably the biggest surprise was Harrison Bryant. He was a player that we wouldn't have expected to be necessarily available at 115. and knowing how important tight end is to the offensive system, and just given how talented of a pass catcher that we view, that we think Harrison is, we just thought he really was the best player on the board. We talk about going into the draft being need agnostic, and that was certainly one of those situations for us.
All right, listen, the fact of the matter is we all go through these drafts and we all think, man, if I was the one making the picks, I would have done this and I would have done that. This is the first time in your career, youngest general manager in NFL history, the buck stopped with you, Andrew Berry. As you sit back and reflect upon that moment, what was it like being in that chair for you, and just kind of the emotions that you went through dealing with that and then executing the plan? Because you guys seemed, honest to goodness, as cool as the other side of the pillow throughout this process.
I'm sure the people in our virtual draft room would tell you a little bit differently, Nate. But it really was just a feeling of excitement. The excitement was just more how everything came together as a group. There's just so many people who contribute to this thing to make sure that we can have a successful weekend and to make sure we can have a smooth weekend, whether it's our scouts, our coaches, research and strategy, IT, video, contract management, and to see it all come together over the past 3 days, that's really what made it special. We're excited about the guys that we've added. Time will tell if I've made the right player decisions, but we are really excited to get this group working with our coaching staff, and I'm really pleased with how operation has come together in general.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you on successfully completing your first draft. I thought it was very cool. You sent some of the scouts out there on day 3 to give them an opportunity in front of the media, and I think that's a great thing. And it just shows, the feeling in the building right now. Collaboration. You and Coach Kevin Stefanski, I got a chance to talk with him earlier after the draft concluded, just on the same page. It's an exciting time, I think, to be a Cleveland Brown and to be a Cleveland Browns fan right now. So thank you and congratulations.
Appreciate it, Nate. Thank you for having me.